Tonight, our special transmission as comedian Ramy Youssef pleads for an end to the suffering in Palestine while hosting Saturday Night Live. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I'm Humaira Karodia. Today is the 178th day since Israel started bombing Palestinians indiscriminately. In the past 24 hours, Israeli strikes in Gaza have killed 71 Palestinians. 102 have been injured. The Israeli army defends the attacks. It says its fighter jets have struck 25 targets in Gaza. It claims these targets include weapon depots. The strikes have targeted workers from World Central Kitchen Convoy carrying aid to Dar al-Bala in Gaza. World Central Kitchen, a US-based aid group, denounces the attack. The deceased workers are from Australia, Palestine, Poland, and the UK. British Foreign Minister David Cameron is demanding an investigation into the attacks. Palestinian media agency reports 4 Palestinians, including 2 children, have been killed as Israeli warplanes bombed a home west of Rafah. Doctors Without Borders says Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital is in ruins a day after Israeli troops withdrew from the complex. The hospital was in siege for 2 weeks. There were heavy firing that left hundreds of patients and medical staff trapped inside. Decomposing bodies have since been found under the wrecked hospital. Witnesses say civilians were targeted by Israeli forces in and around the facility. The death toll from Israel's war continues to rise. At the time of writing, at least 32,916 Palestinians have been killed. A report by the United Nations estimates another 8,000 have been buried under the rubble. 75,494 have been wounded in Israeli attacks. Israelis' revised death toll from Hamas's attacks stands at 1,139. Tens of thousands of protesters have rallied across European cities, including London, Paris, and Berlin, demanding an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. They are urging Israel to permit aid into the besieged territory. In Paris and Amsterdam, protesters called for an end to Israeli violence and accountability for Gaza atrocities. The demonstrators were commemorating Land Day this past weekend. The day marks protests against Israel's policies to confiscate Arab-owned land in Palestine in 1976. Notable figures like former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn and the Crown actor Khalid Abdullah joined the march in London, United Kingdom. Solidarity protests were also held in different cities in the US, Beirut, Rabat, Istanbul, and Pakistan. Organizers of a pro-Palestinian rally in Toronto are demanding an independent civilian investigation following accusations of police brutality. The demonstration was held this past weekend, where Toronto police have charged 3 protesters. They say the protesters have hurled horse manure and used a flagpole against officers. However, rally organizers accuse police of using excessive force. Dalia Awad, a member of the Palestinian Youth Movement Toronto, says the police escalated violence to intimidate protesters. Videos shared on social media show officers pushing demonstrators. The police say it was necessary to use force for safety. They say the demonstrators were refusing to listen to the warnings. Muslim communities in the US and the UK are expressing outrage over Iftar gatherings with government officials as Israel's war on Palestine rages on. Activists are denouncing these events as mere photo ops and condoning Western support for Israel's actions. Over the weekend, Imam Mohammed Magid joined an iftar with U.S. Ambassador to the UN Linda Thomas-Greenfield. The meeting sparked a backlash. Thomas-Greenfield has been vetoing ceasefire resolutions and has been supporting Israel. In New York, pro-Palestinian activists have been calling for a boycott of iftars hosting Mayor Eric Adams. Adams held an iftar with some Muslims, leading to protests outside the venue. In the UK, Labour Party leader Keir Starmer faced similar condemnation for attending an iftar hosted by the Concordia Forum. Egyptian-American comedian Ramy Youssef has pleaded for an end to the suffering in Palestine while hosting Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live is an American late-night live sketch comedy variety show that airs on NBC. Youssef highlighted the urgency of the situation. In his monologue, Youssef said his prayers are complicated because he has a lot to fit in. He says he prays to God to stop the suffering and the violence. He prays for the freedom of the people of Palestine and the hostages. Youssef shared the plight of his friend Ahmed, whose family resides in Gaza. He prayed for their safety and freedom. Youssef calls for action echoes similar sentiments from celebrities at the Oscars. Iran claims that 7 people have been killed in an Israeli bomb attack on its consulate in the Syrian capital, Damascus. Among the dead is a high-ranking commander of the elite Quds force of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps. The consulate is located in the Damascus district of Mezza. Witnesses say smoke was rising from the rubble and emergency vehicles were parked in front of the building. Iranian Ambassador Hossein Akbari says Tehran will respond to the attack with determination. Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian describes the attack as a violation of all international obligations and conventions. U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller has expressed concern about the escalation of the conflict in the region. Israel has recently intensified its airstrikes in Syria against the Iranian-backed Hezbollah militia in Lebanon and the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The attack in Damascus comes days after Israeli airstrikes killed dozens of people in the Syrian province of Aleppo. American senators are urging Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, to address allegations of biased content moderation since the onset of Israel's war on Palestine. Meta denies discrimination against pro-Palestinian content. However, the company has failed to provide evidence. This has prompted Senators Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders to demand transparency. The senators seek detailed information regarding the deletion and suppression of posts about the conflict. Rights groups have criticized Meta's handling of Palestinian content. They are saying pro-Palestinian content has faced systemic censorship and arbitrary account suspensions. A third-party audit commissioned by Meta acknowledges adverse impacts on freedoms of expression on Palestinian users. Despite previous pledges to reform, Meta's policy regarding content takedowns is not transparent and has led to calls for accountability. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland have announced a $1 billion commitment over 5 years for a national school food program. This program is aiming to feed an additional 400,000 children annually. The program will be implemented in the next academic year. The program is meant to address concerns of food insecurity among Canadian families. Advocates say that the program has the potential to support children's well-being at schools. Conservatives criticize the initiative. On the other hand, New Democratic Party leader Jagmeet Singh welcomes the move. Bloc Québécois has expressed support, urging swift funding transfer to provinces. Thank you for watching. Our news is produced by Muslim Network TV, which is a not-for-profit organization. We need your support for donations. Please scan the QR code on our broadcast or visit muslimnetwork.tv to donate now, so we can continue to amplify the voices of Muslims in Canada and abroad.